My guest today is a graduate in English literature. He ran a construction business, lived sort of what's often described as on the wild side in the 60s, a fan of the Beatles, hang gliding, BMW and motorways. Today he heads the Isha Foundation, an international organization with hundreds of thousands of followers, dedicated deeply and committed to social work and social welfare projects, but most significantly, he's a teacher, a philosopher, embodying the highest aspirations of several Indian traditions. I suppose that the Hindu tradition preeminently. I'm delighted to welcome Sadhguru Vasudev. Tell me, sir, that you're described as Jagadguru. What is and who is a Jagadguru? Do you describe yourself as one?
People describe me as a Sadhguru.
Uh-huh.
Sadhguru means an uneducated guru.
Uh-huh.
In the sense that one does not come from the scriptures or study of spirituality, but one who comes from inner experience. All I have is what I know within myself. I am not scripturally read.
Is that a title that you're comfortable with?
It's not a title, it's more…
Description?
It's more a kind of description, so that people don't expect the Vedas or Upanishads or whatever else when they come and sit with you. There's only one thing I know. I know this piece of life absolutely, and that's all I know, and that's more than enough.
What about the guru aspect, the teacher, or what is a guru? What role do you see yourself? How do you see your work as a guru? What does it mean to be one? What does it feel to be one?
The word guru literally means… gu means darkness, ru means dispeller. One
So do
who
you see
dispels
yourself
your
as dispelling darkness? Whose darkness? What kind of darkness?
When you say darkness, it's not in terms of light and darkness as we know physically. It's in terms of bringing clarity. When there is no clarity, you're in darkness. So, bringing clarity of vision, bringing clarity of perception. What I'm teaching is fundamentally simple methods, a technology to enhance your perception. Because what you perceive is all you know. What you do not perceive, if you hear from somebody, it's just a fairy tale. And fairy tales don't transform you, it's only your perception.
Does someone like you pursue? Happiness, equanimity? Well, you're enlightened, but a person who's sort of aspiring to be like you, is it legitimate to pursue happiness for oneself? What is happiness?
Once you're joyful by your own nature, your life will become an expression of your joy, no more in pursuit of happiness. If you look back on your own life and see, most of the life may be in pursuit of happiness, but a few moments are an expression of your joy. They are the most significant and beautiful moments in your life.
Take us, beyond, the semantics of it. Joy, bliss, ecstasy, happiness. What is the aspiration?
So these are not semantics, this is living experience for people. We can say if your body becomes very pleasant, we generally call this health and pleasure. If your mind becomes very pleasant, we call this peace and joy. If your emotions become very pleasant, we call this love and compassion. If your energies become very pleasant, we call this bliss and ecstasy. So they are not really semantics, they are living experiences for people.
When you attain enlightenment, and we'll come to your experience of enlightenment, do you ever get unpleasant emotions? Do you feel the pain of others, or the suffering of others? Is that a response to that pleasant, unpleasant, or what? Or a third emotion? Maybe I'm simplifying it because I have a limited vocabulary. What happens? You worked with the victims of tsunami and your people rushed there immediately. You go there and you see the suffering of people. What do you feel as opposed to a mundane, stupid person like me? Just sort of feels confusion. Why is this happening? What is this divine play? Why must people suffer? What do you feel when you see that?
See, if things were happening consciously within you, if your mind, if your emotion was happening consciously, if you see another person suffering, empathy will happen, compassion will happen, suffering will not happen. You can shed tears of compassion, you can shed tears of empathy, but they need not be tears of pain. And if pain comes, naturally bitterness will follow. So one cannot be in pain and avoid bitterness. If bitterness comes, all kinds of negative actions will follow. So the beauty of life is your inner experience. Because the seat of experience is within you, you can 100% determine how you experience this life. Maybe you cannot 100% determine what situations you may face, what kind of situations you may be placed in, whether they're pleasant or unpleasant, you may not be able to decide that. But what happens within you is 100% in your control, because inside there's only one ingredient, which is you. Outside there are a million ingredients which nobody has total mastery over. We can control them and manage them to some extent, but never 100%. But this one, what's happening within, can be created 100% the way you want it. If things within you are happening exactly the way you want it, would you be creating bliss or pleasantness or unpleasantness? Definitely pleasantness, isn't it? No matter, especially if you're placed in unpleasant situations. Is it not all the more important that at least you keep your insides pleasant?
You're watching a conversation with Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev. We'll be right back after a short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to a continuing conversation with Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev. We were talking about gurus, and there are so many gurus in the marketplace of spirituality. What are the yardsticks? What are what are the criteria that, as an aspirant, one uses to evaluate and work or surrender or buy or whatever you want to use and respond to, learn from a guru?
So how to choose your guru?
Yes.
If you happen to go and sit with somebody who claims to be a guru, if you feel terribly uncomfortable with him, you don't want to be there for a moment, but you can't get up and go, but you keep going back again and again. Everything, all reason tells you not to go there, but something within you doesn't, helplessly goes there, that's your guru. If you like him, he's not your guru.
Is the surrender or relationship with a guru, is it important to keep one's critical faculties alive? Are they yardsticks?
If only we are following the path of bhakti, surrender becomes a thing. Surrender is not something that you can do. It is just that if you're overwhelmed by something far larger than you, a certain surrender happens. Nobody can surrender consciously. I have surrendered is a horrible statement to make. You cannot surrender. If a presence which is far larger than you overwhelms you in such a big way, a certain surrender happens. That is not full. People surrender in installments. So, when it comes to me, I am not demanding any kind of surrender. All I am asking is sense. You want to work with something. You can only work with what you are. You can only work with what you have on your hands. You can't work with that which you don't have. You talk about surrender, devotion, God and this and that. These things you can't work with because you don't have them in your hands. What you have is your body, your mind, your emotion, your energy. You start working with that. And as it works for you, you will tend to go further and further naturally. Surrender is not always necessarily a must. It is, see, right now, whether you like it or not, we have surrendered to this planet because we are going wherever it goes, isn't it? So it is an unconscious surrender. So whether you like it or you don't like it, your whole life, the very way your body throbs right now, the very way the life energies happen, is being controlled by a million things around you. So unconsciously you have surrendered to it.
Tell us about about your journey, your enlightenment. What was, you're conducting courses. You have people who initiate aspirants, students. You had a guru. You learned yoga. You learned pranayam, and you sat sort of seeking perfection of the mind and the body, and the enlightenment happened to you. Did you cultivate it? Did you seek it? Was it a spontaneous, several hours that you then discovered was a much longer period of time?
I did not seek it, nor did I cultivate it. It's just by chance I came in touch with yoga when I was just 11 years of age.
Was the yoga a preparation for this, you think, in some ways?
Definitely. I would like to tell you how I came in touch with yoga. When I was a kid, when I was just 11 years, along with my, few friends and others, it was a sport for us to jump into a well, which was just about 8 feet in diameter, dropping about 70-80 feet into the water. So it is dangerous. If you go the wrong way, your brains will become a smear on the wall. And to climb up again, because there is no steps or ladders or anything to climb the rock, it's a difficult thing to do. It's something that we want to do, the boys. We're doing this, and I'm good at it. Then a man comes who is over 70 years of age, and he jumps in without a word, and he climbs up faster than me. I didn't like it. So I asked, okay, how? He said, come and do yoga. That's how I got into yoga. I'm saying this to you because it doesn't matter how you get into it, it still works, because it's a technology. It is not a philosophy, it is a technology. If you employ the method properly, it will naturally lead you on to a certain possibility.
So the assumption of a technology is sort of input-output. So are you, am I right in understanding that if those inputs of yoga and pranayam that you went through, that if any individual were to engage in those practices, they would have similar experiences to what you had at age whatever, after so many years of doing that? Because the minute you call it technology, you're using a certain empiricism. You do X and you get Y. At a metaphysical level, when you start talking about karma and things, yes, in a much larger context, that's the way it ends up. But when you're looking here at techniques, saying that you do so many minutes of pranayam, you do so many minutes of yoga, and you do X, Y, Z, and this is what's going to happen. It happened to me. Is that what you're saying?
Yoga has a physical dimension to it and a subjective dimension to it. If you deliver the yoga without the subjective, then you go on doing it, your backache will go, you become strong, and this, that, but the other aspects will not come. If yoga has been received, not learnt, if it's been received with the necessary subjectivity, it is bound to happen. There is no other way. So this is the reason why what we're doing right now is subjective. So the training processes are very long and rigorous. To train a simple teacher who has to teach just 5-day program, 5-evening program, we train them for 4 to 5 years of very intense training, full time. Because the subjectivity doesn't happen just with the physicality of yoga.
It's still my question then, if this is a technology…
Will it work for everybody?
And it's predictable, is it predictable that you do these inputs and this is what is going to happen?
Now I have hundreds and thousands of people
who are enlightened as you are?
Who have experiences which are very high. People ask me, what's the mission? I tell them my mission is to plant undercover yogis. Now I have housewives, bank managers, executives, scientists, tribal women in very deep states of experience, very intense and blissful states of experience,
but how do
doing normal activity.
But tell us about what happened to you when you experienced enlightenment, and what followed, so that I may aspire to it one day too.
What happened may sound very illogical and little crazy for people, but anyway, you're asking for it.
Not only am I asking for it, I'm saying that one day I want to get there too, because I want to be enlightened.
I was, after I finished my education, got into business, and much more successful than most people would have imagined in a short span of time, everything happening the way you want it. When everything that you touch is successful, generally you get into this mode that the planet doesn't go around the sun, it actually goes around you. So I'm in a condition like that. Everything that I do is success, I'm dead sure of who I am, what I am, all this. One afternoon, I'm just sitting on a particular rock in I come from Mysore, there's a hill called Chamundi. My eyes are open, I'm not doing anything yogic or meditation or anything, I'm just sitting with my eyes open. Till that moment, I always knew myself, me means this. Suddenly I did not know which is me, which is not me. What was me was all over the place. The very rock on which I was sitting, the air that I was breathing, the atmosphere, everything was me. That sounds loony, isn't it? What was me was just all over. I thought this experience lasted for about 5–10 minutes. But when I came back to my normal senses, 4.5 hours had passed. I sat there at 3 o'clock, I know that very well. It was 7:30 in the evening. My eyes are open. Sun has set. I'm fully conscious. But it's just that time just slipped by like that. This left me drenched in a completely different kind of blissfulness. For the first time in my adult life, tears were flowing. Tears and me are impossible. Me and spirituality cannot be, because even at the age of 4 or 5, I have questions. If my parents cannot answer questions, I will not enter the temples that they are visiting. I'll just hang around near the chappal stand for many hours till they come out, but I won't enter because they can't answer my questions.
You're watching a conversation with Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev. We'll be right back after a short break, don't go away.